Okay, this is happening to me. Okay. So right now what we're going to do is very briefly have the moderators of the different tracks give some general outcomes of what was said in each one of the sessions. We'll start with track 1, the stakeholder engagement. Hermana, will you go ahead and briefly tell us a little bit about the highlights of the session?
It's very difficult to be brief because we had a lot of highlights. I would say a lot of topics that have been really, interesting. I would like to remark just a few, but it's been a very interesting discussion. So thank you to all the speakers. For example, we underlined the importance of the digital twin impact on the co-creation policies, not just from the creation of the policies themselves, but starting from the tools that will help the public administration, so that the people that will have to make the decision in field. And the digital twins can really help to work on this side. So starting from the tool, from the visualization of the information that the policymakers need to collect to do their evaluation. So not only the co-creation from a real side, having people meeting directly by themselves, but also the artificial technologies helping us and assisting us in this process of co-creation. Another thing that emerged from our track, I would say, is about the data, and the Intercom platform is a valuable example on that. But we have plenty of tools that are able and useful to collect data to allow them to extract information and impact on policies. But the fact is that we really need to evaluate this type of data. What type of data are useful, how they are collected, what are the information that are transmitted, because I think it's really part of our of the years we are living in. We have access to big data, but we really need to select and analyze which data are effective, because we have now the infrastructure set in place, and the European cloud infrastructure, it's a valuable example of that. But also think about the data that will be collected and shared and evaluated. It is an important issue for the next year. Another element I would like to underline is the fact that all these co-creation policies being, starting from the AI techniques or more practical and real way of setting in place, are all impacted by cultural challenges, because we start from the human attitude and how the humans respond to questions, to the collection of information from their side. So the cultural challenges are also important and are, I would say, an important aspect that has to be taken in place when we talk about co-creation and policy making decision.
Thank you, Hermana. That's very interesting. I'm sure it was a very rich debate, and I know it definitely is a challenge right on the spot to try to sum up everything while you're listening, while you're moderating the session. I would just like to thank you personally for the work that you were doing yesterday and today, moderating both track sessions for this. So thank you very much. We'll go on to track 2. Track 2 on policy prediction, that was moderated by Zach Smith. Zach, can you give us some highlights of what was presented and what the debate went on?
Yes. So this image is missing one of our speakers, who
that's true. Sorry.
who was Jose San Martin, and so he spoke first and was talking a bit about the Intelcom platform, but started off talking about what is evidence-based policymaking. And he described it as something that is trying to introduce a greater rationality into policy making and reduce the non-design spaces in the policy making process. But he said there's some concerns here that policymakers must have the analytical capacity to interpret the data and carry out the evaluation and prediction. Now, and more specific about the Intel Comp platform, that will be able to analyze large volumes of unstructured text data and use AI tools in using high performance computers. And it will be designed specifically to assist public administrators in several stages of the science technology innovation policy cycle, agenda setting, implementation, and monitoring. Next, we had Ricard from Policy Cloud, who told us about the simulation tool from Policy Cloud, which simulates through social dynamics, counterfactual what-ifs situations, and estimates the outcomes of different policies. These simulation models also evaluate based on criteria given by the policymakers as well. An example is the use case in Aragon with Sarga, which simulates the motivation for buying different kinds of wines. So related to their policies to promote their wine industry as a region. And they want to simulate what happens based on different aspects, such as people's household incomes, the types of promotional marketing campaigns there are, etc. In Policy Cloud, this is an ongoing development process. The project finishes at the end of next year. So there is a first version of this tool, but it's still being developed. And there's a need for it to be also created in a more user-friendly way so that policymakers can use the UI. Then we had Francesco Moredo from Decido, and he mentioned the fact that all of them started off talking about the policy life cycle, the deciding the agenda of the policy, the design, the implementation, and then the monitoring and evaluation. And he showed that data can be useful in all of this cycle, and that Decido applies to all of the cycle, but is aimed more at the prediction and the agenda setting. So also the first part, shall we say, of the cycle. And they're going to be using European cloud infrastructure to analyze and provide recommendations for public authorities and help them to use this cloud infrastructure in their daily work. And they're going to be engaging citizens in their pilots and co-creation the whole way through. And their pilots are specifically focusing on more emergency policies. So they're focusing on forest fires, floods, power outages, and helping the policymakers create better policies to manage these sorts of emergencies. And they want to provide a dashboard that provides these analytical tools. That's what they're going to do, provide a dashboard that provides these analytical tools, but also provides recommendations to the policymakers on how to involve citizens in the co-creation of these policies. And yeah, this use of tools they will have for the policy life cycle. Then we had Jürgen Silence, who is from Duet, or Duet, I'm not sure how they pronounce the project. And he gave us an actual real-time demo of the tool in Pilsen, and he showed us how their digital twin is able to simulate using the traffic data, the air pollution data, and the noise data that they already have, is able to simulate what would happen if a bridge was closed. And he showed us in real time how these new data sets are created, and they show how if this bridge was closed, where there would be heavy traffic as a result, where the air pollution would improve or get worse, and also the noise pollution as well. And then he also showed us, not in a live demo, but showed us some of the other digital twins, such as Antwerp, which looks at the number of pedestrians and cyclists on roads. And so, yeah, that was a real treat to see this tool in action. So when the recordings are up, I definitely recommend checking out track number 2. Then we had a discussion at the end, which got into whether transparency in evidence-based policymaking does actually create more trust or not, because there was a discussion around the fact that people, citizens often make their opinions based on feelings and not actually on data. So whether this evidence-based policymaking can actually increase that trust in governing. I just turned it back on. Okay. So yeah, we had a really good discussion at the end as well, but I'll close here because I've been talking for a while.
Sorry, I was trying to get my controls back, and maybe I stopped the recording. I didn't realize what I was doing. Okay. I mean, I know we've been using Zoom for many months now, but sometimes some of us, we're still a little bit rusty.
I don't think I will never get used to use Zoom, so I can feel you, don't worry.
I was trying to mute myself, and maybe I stopped the recording. Sorry, Zach. Thank you, Zach, for the summary. Thank you also for your direct participation in the organization and being moderator of the track. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate you sharing with us what was going on in track 2. Now, can we go on to Marco? If you can tell us a little bit about what happened in track 3.
Yeah, okay. So as my colleagues previously said, it's kind of difficult to be brief, explaining what was discussed today. First two to speak were Martin and Alberto from ECT Consulting and Policy Cloud Project. And what emerged during their presentation was that the Policy Cloud Project is aiming to get the best out of the use of data. This may happen through digitalization or cloud computing or artificial intelligence. And the main goal is to model, create, and implement public policies. So in this sense, they showed us what should be the main tools that should be used in order to reach this goal, and they stress the role of high standard of quality for data, as well as ethical concern when managing data. Even if, as they said, it is difficult to imagine a code of conduct or a code of ethics for the use of data management tools, it is a duty of people like those who works in ECT Consulting or part of a Policy Cloud project to develop a few ethical principles that must guide their activity, because this the use of data is not an activity that could be performed without taking care of the ethical issues that are raised. The second one to speak was Vanni Resta, who focuses his presentation on the ethical issues regarding climate change and environmental sustainability. So he showed us Decido, what kind of data Decido is using, and how from the data that Decido is using, how they arrive to decision making, and how the policy making is based on the data that are required by Decido, and also how Decido is working in Greek, in Aragon, in Spain, in Italy, and in Finland, and also what kind of data they are acquiring and what kind of personal data storage are they using in their different countries, as well as the scheme that is a circular scheme for the use of data. Also how the use of data and the climate situation is a matter that is not only an ethical matters, but also an economical matters. So having an eye for the green impact and the green economy as an ethical consideration when using data, also from the economical point of view. And last to speak was Marina Kugura from AI for Public Policy. And AI for Public Policy, he's deploying is a joint venture who is aiming to deploy a citizen-centric policy management that is based unique on AI technologies. What she showed us during the project is that the data acquired through the cities of their project, as well as what are the main legal and ethical implications. She stressed a lot that in order to use data, it is important to implement high quality standard for data. It's important to have a high quality standard of data, and important to identify few ethical recommendations that must be followed when approaching data management tools, especially in the field of automated decisions, like in the field of data-driven decisions and artificial intelligence. Then during our discussion, we discussed what should be the main recommendation for policymakers when approaching data-driven decisions and when implementing tools for data-driven decisions. And we all agreed that the main features is to implement instruments that are capable of depuring data. So in order to have data that are quality data, meaning data that are exactly true and data that are precise, in order to not harm users and to not harm the people who is the owner, the original owner of the data. And this is also part of the ethical consideration, to not harm data owners. So this is what was discussed in our session.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you very much for sharing that and for being moderator of the sessions and participating in the debate. We're coming to the end of our two-day event. First of all, I want to thank all the participants, for those of you who have participated in those days, or those of you that are only here today. I'm really aware with these hybrid conferences, it's normal that people come in and out and only tune into the sessions. I'd like to thank the speakers also for participating, for presenting their experiences, the knowledge of the different projects and what they've done. And for the organizers, obviously this was really a lot of muscle was made with Marika and her team to get this Zoom and everything organizing. I want to invite all of you to visit what is the Data-Driven Policy Cluster Roadmap. It's a document that we prepared that basically tries to bring together all this information and knowledge that we want to share together. The maturity of the projects is different. Some projects started earlier, other projects have started basically this year, so that's why some of them have different levels of results, and some will come up in the future results. I think it's important that what we're trying to do is trying to come together and find a good way to align and to find synergies and best practices to address the issues, like was said before, the legal and administrative issues, the ethical issues, to build the trust that was talking about in the morning. We want to talk about the policymakers and their role and what they need. And also, it's not the same maybe policymakers at agenda setting or as an impact, or those that need monitoring or different types of in the policy design. Also, the issue of the domains and how it's not the same in health or cancer or mobility, or in what we're doing with cities with respect to or other areas. So depending on the domain, it's also very important. We're talking about a cultural change. So what are we trying to do, the 5 projects? I mean, I'd like to thank all of the projects on behalf of, I'd like to thank all of you for participating on behalf of the 5 projects, the AI for Public Policy, Decido, Do It, Policy Cloud, and Intel Comp, for being here today. And what do we want to do? What's that? Why are we doing this together? Because we want to make sure that policymakers make effective decisions based on data-driven policy tools, and that's what we're trying to do. We want to connect the different data resources from the cities to the digital transformations or the green transformation, and try to solve these challenges with the citizens and with other stakeholders. We want to achieve a way that all this information is integrated and it's useful for the policymakers, but also for improving decision-making in general. And so we want to contribute in our little way to the digital future of Europe strategy in some sense. So I won't go on more. I think we'll close the session now. Thank you again to everybody for participating, and I hope you have a nice afternoon and a nice weekend. So this is all for now, and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank
bye
you,
to
bye.
everybody. Thank you.